In my early gaming days, I had two major consoles at my disposal that I played the hell out of. The Nintendo 64, which was a truly great system, where I played my other favorite game franchise, The Legend of Zelda, as well as the likes of Smash Bros. And 007 GoldenEye. But my days of only playing Nintendo would soon be put to an end when my older sisters brought home our PlayStation 2. We had got it from a family friend who loved the games to pieces, but had moved on to other things, such as college. The system was not in the greatest condition, with some dings and scratches in it, and an AV cable that would only display the games when tilted just right. And with this console came just two games, Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2. For a little while, me and my brother had no idea how to play these games, but since we couldn't figure out how to leave Destiny Islands, we instead just decided to watch the opening cutscene over and over again. I remember one time we got so frustrated that we just didn't want to beat the game on our own and went and looked at the completed save file that was still on the memory card, and our little minds were completely blown. Who is this guy? When do we get this really cool sword? Sora can fly? And as we got older, we eventually, of course, progressed in the game, going through the Disney worlds and loving every second. And I remember oh so vividly when we finally defeated Ansem for the very first time one summer evening all those years ago. Truly, it was the best of times. Since that time, I've played Kingdom Hearts many times, even going so far as to learning how to speedrun it. So I think it's pretty safe to say that it is one of my favorite games to ever exist. And it is the one that started it all for me, and I'd like to celebrate the 20th anniversary of this game and the whole series by talking about what makes this game so perfect as a piece of media, but also why it triumphs over the likes of other action RPGs. This goes out as a thank you to the creators of this game, and for all future fans to truly understand what it was like back then. After the extremely catchy J-pop that you just can't get out of your head starts winding down, we are placed in the best tutorial segment of any game in the series, and I will fight everyone on this. I don't count the likes of Kingdom Hearts 2 because of it being like its own little prologue minigame, and Birth by Sleep is boring garbage and ball smacking the minigame. 358 over 2 days is just an excuse to have Castle Oblivion, Organization 13 crew interact with Roxas, and so on. You get it. The dive to heart is iconic, with the ominous music playing, the stained glass beneath your feet, and the feeling that the choices you make here will impact your playthrough of the rest of the game. In a funny way, this is what it feels like when you hit 18 and you suddenly have to choose what to do for the rest of your life. A strange voice calls out to you from the void, uttering words that are full of encouragement and warning. You begin by choosing between the sword, staff, and shield as your weapon. This will change what stat you are most proficient in from the start, so choose wisely. After this, you fall down to the next stained glass featuring Cinderella, where you will learn the basics of combat by introducing the Heartless. The next stop teaches you about boxes and opening chests in a very mysterious fashion, and after completing each task, you open a door that appears to lead to nowhere, but as a light flashes from beyond and you make your way through, you are suddenly on an island setting surrounded by Final Fantasy characters, and each one asks you a really vague question that confused me so much. This is the beauty of the game. Its random mystery was awe-inspiring to a young me. A bunch of kids asking me life-altering questions about my insecurities kind of freaks you out, but of course these questions do alter the game's difficulty. To a first-time player, you don't really know all that though, so you just kind of have to answer honestly. Soon after that, we are led to the next stained glass, this time with Rose from Sleeping Beauty featured on it. You might fight a few Heartless, or a lot, discover your first save point, and then climb up some stairs leading to the final area of the tutorial, Belle's Dive to Heart from Beauty of the Beast. It's on this glowing golden spot that we are hit with a line that sent shivers down my spine. The closer you get to the light, the bigger your shadow will become. And as the music suddenly changes, Sora's shadow rises, grows to the gargantuan size, and then all of a sudden this Cthulhu-looking motherfucker is towering over you. This is terrifying. So long as you're not too scared though, it ends up being pretty easy and you finish the fight followed by more mysterious dialogue from that strange voice which... okay, hold on, I just need to pause. Did anyone seriously think for 1 second that this was Mickey Mouse all along at the very beginning of the game, not some really super important character like Ventus or anyone else? It was just Michael Mouse all along. Really? As the screen fades to black, we are greeted by the sound of crashing waves and beach ambiance, and the real story begins. Sora wakes up to one hell of a jump scare, and we are introduced to the main cast. Riku is the resident edgy teen, and Kairi is like the love interest. Throughout the days you spend on the island, you help collect materials and supplies for the raft that they hope will take them to other worlds, while that jazzy tropical music plays, setting the tone for this world as a paradise for kids. You can swim, climb trees, compete in a race against Riku, and beat the shit out of every single person on the island. It's obvious that these three are very close, and they each have a lot going for them that define their character. Riku is a rebellious rival to Sora, who dreams of going out to seeing other worlds, which was brought on by Kairi being from one of those worlds. And Kairi in turn has a very special connection to Sora, even going so far as to ask Sora to take the raft the three of them built for just the two of them. And Sora, well, is the lovable dummy who doesn't understand either of these two, and he's honestly the most relatable character of them all, not knowing anything as complex as feelings, but at the same time being a total kid, so it makes sense. At the same time that this is happening, we cut away to Donald Duck at Disney Castle in a panic over his king, who is obviously Mickey, going missing. I remember as a kid I really hated Donald and this particular segment of cutscenes because I really just wanted to get back to Sora and find out what happened to his friends, and as an adult my feelings haven't really changed. I love Donald and Goofy and I love how they interact with Sora, and I love the Disney worlds, but I just really didn't like Donald's very self-righteous attitude, and I think that's kind of the point. Let's get back to what happened to Sora. Before long, trouble begins to brew on the island one night and everything goes out of control. The Heartless are here. After losing Riku to the darkness and receiving the mythical weapon known as the Keyblade, you run to search for Kairi, only for her to disappear suddenly as well, and then suddenly your nightmares are real as you are once again facing their gargantuan dark side from before. After defeating it and being sucked into the void, everything fades to black. We find ourselves in an alley with a cute Disney copyright all up in our business and realize we are no longer on our little slice of paradise, and instead a groovy little town for which we can traverse in many different ways as a sort of hub world as we progress through the game's story. Here we got to talk to a wide variety of characters who range from the kids from DuckTales, not Titus, this random chick, this random guy, this other random guy, 101 Headaches, Sid the Science Kid, and of course, wait, who are you guys? I'll be honest, as a child I had no idea who the other characters were who weren't Disney. I never played a Final Fantasy game outside of Final Fantasy X until my late teens. Aerith, Yuffie, and Squall, I mean Leon, were all just the supporting cast who loved to beat up Sora with fire and a shotgun sword. I had no idea these people had their own games. All I knew was shit just kept getting weirder. Leon explains the Keyblade to Sora, and their little powwow is put to an end as Heartless soldiers spawn in the room. Just as a little sidebar, the Soldier Heartless are actually my favorite Heartless design from the game. Might seem basic, but there's something so menacing about them. Maybe my bias is stemmed from the fact that we just saw a guy have his heart torn from his physical form and made into one of them, but that's just how the cookie crumbles. After some running around, you get to the 3rd district and we finally see our half-pint trio meet for the very first time. Honestly, if you don't make friends like this, are they really even your friends? We don't have time for proper introductions though, as we immediately engage in a fight against a small batch of soldiers and the incredibly annoying guard armor boss. I remember as a kid, I would get so frustrated with this fight because Donald would not heal me. I would sweat and cry over this fight for a few days to make the point of making my mother force me to go outside and touch grass, and I never forgave Donald for that. Not until Kingdom Hearts 3, but we'll save that for another video. Like and subscribe. Then, after some real introductions, receiving the extremely helpful dodge roll from Goofy, and the shotgun of fire from Donald, and a smile from Sora that definitely is in every 2000s kid cringe compilation, we finally set off on the promise that we will surely find our friends Riku and Kairi if we help the Disney duo find their king. And thus, their glorious friendship was born. But, in the darkness of some far-off castle, there looms the greater threat behind the Heartless. As a kid, I was geeked to see the silhouettes of all the Disney villains I grew up watching on movies and VHS, and could never have guessed what adventure lied in store. This is where everything changed. As a child, the Disney worlds of Kingdom Hearts 1 felt like filler content. Not that I knew what that meant, but it still didn't give me any motivation to continue. I grew up watching every single one of these Disney worlds play out on my family's VHS collection of the classic films. That's right, back in the day we didn't have no Blu-rays or Disney Plus. We watched our movies on little black boxes with tape inside them that made the pictures move very, very fast, therefore making a movie. And whenever we wanted to rewatch that movie, we had to rewind it all the way to the beginning. But enough of my old man spiel. When it comes to the Disney worlds, I want to keep each one as brief as possible, while giving extra attention to the ones I found impactful or interesting to me in my first playthrough as a kid, and even now on my 37th playthrough as an adult. So if I don't talk enough about Atlantica for 23 minutes, you'll have to leave a comment and hit that subscribe button, so I know to make another video about it at a later date. Now then, I guess this is my Kingdom Hearts 1 world tier list? Wonderland is one of those worlds where I really can't find much to say. It's charming, I guess. The music of each world is firmly etched into my memory, and this one is no exception. I do like it when the worlds follow at least some of the plot and show off recognizable locations from the movies, and Sora stepping in to help defend Alice's innocence was honestly so in character for him that I can't be mad. As for the overarching story progression, this world doesn't do much except for make us question who the hell stole this little posh British girl, and also that there is something more annoying than get up on the Hydra's back.
Get him, you fools!
I'll take the option to go to the world of Hercules at Olympus Coliseum over Wonderland any day of the week, unless it's a speedrun. It provided a lot of reasons to return to the world via the different tournament brackets you could enter and the secret boss battles against the Ice Titan and him. I mean, seriously, this world had so many things going for it. Cloud and this Sephiroth guy were actual rivals, and they had the coolest swords and the best drip NGs. I didn't even know they had their own game either until way later in life. And of course, to top it all off, after completing your first visit to the world, we get to start an ongoing thing with Sora and Donald and Goofy about what it means to be a true hero. When these little moments that help Sora grow and also span across literally every single game, you gotta admit it's something special. Olympus takes the cake for the most fun world gameplay wise, offering loads of content that blew my mind as a 10-year-old, and I think it deserves to be high up on everyone's world tier list.
For the game!
This world is where the true development of Sora's relationship with Donald and Goofy grows and gets tested all at once. Deep Jungle is a lush green forest environment with the cast of Tarzan all here. Sora and Donald are in an argument on board the gummy ship on whether or not they should land the ship here or simply move on to the next world. Sora believes Kairi and Riku could be down there, and Donald shoots down his argument really fast, but not as fast as Sora taking the controls and crashing the ship, causing the group to be separated. Sora is attacked by Sabor, and it's a neat little recurring fight, don't get me wrong, but it just happens all the time, and I really got tired of walking into spaces with no Heartless and being like, why do I hear boss music? Tarzan saves you even if you win the fight, introductions are made, and Sora sees a mirage of Kairi? Always thought that scene was weird. Was that ever explained? Did Kairi go to this world? Who knows? Oh yeah. And Clayton is here, the most annoying, infuriating, straight out of Texas, gun-blazing bullshit of a boss I've ever seen. Seriously, I cannot tell you how much I struggled to beat this man in the yellow hat without the hat, gorilla murdering fetish, son of a bitch, in my first playthrough. And hey, did you know that on the original PS2 version of the game that I was raised on, you couldn't skip the opening cutscene? So as many of my fellow OGs will realize, I have that opening cutscene before the fight memorized. No, stop! Clayton? Not Clayton. Not Clayton. Alright, what are you talking about? Oh, Only one other fight has done that to me throughout the course of this thrilling adventure, but we will get to that later. At the end of the fight, Tarzan takes us to his secret place where you can hear the waterfalls, and delivers a powerful line about how friends are always in your heart, translated by Jane. And Donald and Sora reconcile with each other, we get an awkward ship, and it's on to the next world. After getting 2 navigation gummies, it's back to that groovy hub world we all know and love. Sid is surprisingly knowledgeable about gummy ships and offers to install it for us. In return, we must deliver a book for him to that good old wizard Merlin. Doing so will give you access to Fairy Godmother's ability to turn magic stones into summons, and a magic room that no one ever really uses. Does anyone know why these two just live in this rundown house together on the far side of town? So about that book, Winnie the Pooh holds a very special place in my heart. The stories of Pooh Bear, Rabbit, and Tigger and all the rest have been with me since I was in diapers. Pooh and Sora's connection throughout the main 3 games, less so in the 3rd one, was something I connected to on another level. The 100 Acre Wood is mostly just a series of mini-games no matter what game it's in, but I always found it to be pretty fun and worth collecting all the pages so I can save Pooh and his friends in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. The system is unique and special, and I really wish we had received a better addition to it in Kingdom Hearts 3, but beggars can't be choosers. And the 100 Acre Wood is still my favorite world in Kingdom Hearts 1. Another little fun fact, in the final world you go through this one segment where you visit other worlds, and you kind of have to go through and fight Heartless in every single one of them, and it's kind of the most annoying segment, but in the 100 Acre Wood version of this, there's just the log that you and Pooh sat on together, and a save point, and a chest containing a Mega Elixir. To me, Pooh feels like the representation of childhood wonder in this situation, and it fills my heart with determination whenever I see this segment of the world, like Pooh is somewhere out there helping out his good friend Sora, worlds apart. Sorry for that weird sidebar, but it just felt like the best time to bring up Pooh. Now, where were we? Oh yeah. After leaving Merlin's house, you get a surprise visit from none other than Riku, who's just as boastful and cocky as before. Sora gets a little smug as well with his power of the Keyblade. Riku gets real tired of his shit and leaves before Sora has any time to really say anything, but he's just happy to know he's doing okay. Riku has been under the care of Maleficent this whole time, being consumed by the darkness and becoming what we all saw from the start, and Riku's character growth through this scene alone was just great. To me, he was always trying to one-up Sora and be the responsible one his friends could rely on because of his power and confidence, and seeing Sora doing just fine on his own and with new friends probably messed him up inside. We'll see plenty more from him later. After that, you can go to the 2nd district and you get the opportunity to fight Guard Armor again. I remember seeing him and thinking, oh yeah, no, I can totally beat him now that I'm a lot stronger, only for him to turn his hands into his feet and his legs into his hands and kick my shit around for the next few hours. The second time you visit Traverse Town will always be memorable to me for a lot of reasons, some of which I didn't talk about, but it's a nice way to bridge the gap between the first set of Disney Worlds and the next. And when it comes to main story, the next one is a bit of a doozy. Alright, I'll say it, Agrabah is my least favorite of all the Disney Worlds. While I have fond memories of Aladdin and the main plot development in Agrabah is better than any of the Disney Worlds aside from Neverland, I always found the main battle theme, the enemies, and overall setting to be so irritating. I don't like sand.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
As you cruise along through space in the gummy ship, excited for what Disney adventure you will find yourself in next, suddenly big old chunky fish boy swallows you whole and you get into a little wholesome flashback with Riku and Sora as kids. Oh, and Pinocchio is here. And Geppetto too. Speaking of Riku, he continues to develop into a fleshed out antagonist for Sora here by inviting him to play a game with him and Pinocchio, but at the same time when the little wooden puppet is captured by the previously mentioned heart attack of a Heartless, teaming up with Riku for that fight was just the best because him and Sora both knew that saving him was the correct thing to do. Other than that, I don't really have a whole lot else to say about Monstro, just thought it was a really neat world with a different enough atmosphere to make it stand out. This world is one I think gets a little bit too much flack. Yeah, the swimming mechanics can be hard to work with, and yes, combat is messy and slow, but at least we got a cool plotline that was sadly never continued because we do not speak of Atlantica in Kingdom Hearts 2. Sora, Donald, and Goofy take on the forms of a turtle, octopus, and merman respectively, and we got to see the ever-so-cursed nips of Sora. We are joined by Ariel as a party member, get her whole little spiel about wanting to go to the surface world. It really mostly follows the plot of the movie closely enough to make it noticeable, but not suffocatingly so. King Triton is honestly my favorite part since he is the first one who we've met who's not evil besides Genie and also knows of the keyhole. His scolding Sora will always be one of the funniest and most interesting interactions we've seen between a main character and a Disney original one. Now, this is the most aesthetically pleasing world. I know a good many who consider this to be their favorite, and I can't really blame them. After all, who hated The Nightmare Before Christmas? That's right, nobody, and if you did, you're lying to yourself. The Half-Pints get all geared up as monsters that inspired many a Halloween costume, and lots and lots of fan art. Jack is trying his best to make Halloween extra spicy with the help of the Heartless, while Oogie plots to steal the homemade heart he and the Doctor are making. I love that instead of following the plot of the movie directly, whenever we go to this world, no matter what the game, we are treated to an original tale, a little misadventure of Jack Skeleton that we would otherwise have never seen because this movie still doesn't have a damn sequel. Neverland was funny. It's called Neverland, but the entire time we were just on Hook's ship. This whole thing was so easy and underwhelming gameplay wise, but we did get the most integral plot from a Disney World that we have ever had. Sora is confronted by Riku, sees Kairi for the first time since the island incident, although she's not looking so good, but we get some Disney shenanigans, Riku takes Kairi away, and we fight Hook, which was, again, so easy. I have no idea why, but when the question was asked to me who I struggled to beat the most, my friends would think it was Captain Hook, but really, did anyone actually think he was tough? Let me know in the comments. But gameplay and stuff aside, this really was my favorite trip to a Disney World because of the messages of believing yourself. Peter and Tinkerbell become recurring characters in the series, and the power of flight always remains just as special the moment you obtain it. Sora's leap of faith during the climbs to the boss into the mouth of the gator, followed by his happy memory being Kairi, will always be the sweetest thing, and just I love it. This is all set up for the final act of Kingdom Hearts 1 so well, and now it finally begins. The calm before the storm. The final push before the darkness. Hollow Bastion. A castle floating atop an endless ocean. Water cascading down into a gorge where floating platforms of ice surround you upon entering. The castle itself is away in the distance. You make your way towards it knowing this might be where you finally get some answers. Riku is there, and it's revealed that the Keyblade was meant to be his all along. What a plot twist. And after taking it from Sora, this means that Donald and Goofy, his friends, can no longer follow him. Their orders from the king were to follow the one who wields the Keyblade, and Sora is no longer that person. So he is left to his own devices with nothing but his old wooden sword, and this is where I think we really see where all of Sora's growth can come to the surface. If you are telling me after all he's been through, all his experiences since leaving that island hadn't changed him a bit, then he might have just been giving up entirely right here, but no, he gets back up now, teamed up with the Beast, and to go get his friends back. He doesn't care about the Keyblade, he doesn't care about being the chosen one, he doesn't need a weapon, because his friends are his power. Those words always resonated with me as a kid. I would run around the playground yelling those simple words, getting into little fights with the neighbors, all because those words made me feel strong. Looking back on it, I cringed, but the me of 13, 14 years ago probably thought he was the coolest one around for it, so I can't help but smile. So after we kick Bitchku to the curb and get our Keyblade back, we are back on track and make our way through the super advanced and beautiful ruins of the Hollow Bastion Castle, with plenty of puzzles and secrets to keep us busy for days. The many beautiful rooms, from the library to the chapel, are just so fascinating to me. Most interesting of all is the area where we fight Maleficent. That's right, the bitch behind it all. Or is she? Her regular old witch form was easy enough if I remember correctly, but you recall that I said there was one other boss in this game that gave me so much trouble that I can reenact the whole scene? Why did I just get my shit rocked by a boy with an oversized key? Again. Yo, Maleficent, how about having some of that darkness? You know, that sounds pretty good. Here he is. It's over, Maleficent. Riku? Is that a... Yes, except mine is cool, unlike yours. No, mine is totally cool. Anyways, here's some darkness. Bye. Thank you. Alright, now we got the darkness, let's go! Fuck, here we go again. Yep, Dragon Maleficent was such a pain in the ass that I wouldn't beat her for several weeks. Let me take you back to a core memory of mine. I was at the beach. Yes, the beach. My family would take regular trips to the beach every other year. Of course, I would always go out and play for a while, even pretending I was Sora and or Roxas, quoting their most quotable lines, and of course standing with my feet just barely beneath the water as the waves crashed before me, and Dearly Beloved playing in my head and the daydreams of adventures beyond my wildest dreams. But of course, no summer vacation was complete without a little gaming action, and I had just had to bring my PS2 with me. I was so close to beating this beast that I couldn't drop it for quality time with family. What nonsense is that? You remember I mentioned that family friend of mine who gave us the PS2 and the games? Well, he just so happened to be on this trip and coached me through the whole fight. Not taking the controller from my hands and doing it himself, no, he talked me through it until I finally won. It was incredible. But going back to Riku, he receives supreme control over the darkness from none other than Mr. Potato Sack himself. Comes along with his very own Keyblade, the Keyblade of Heart, which allows him to unlock full potential of one's heart and or release hearts from that person. This weapon of unknown origins was never seen again after this game, but still adds to the sheer awesomeness of this fight between Sora and Riku over Kairi's heart, with two Keyblades clashing all along. The stakes were high, the battle was fierce, but we emerged victorious, and I'm just gonna skip ahead a little bit to when those two have that very special moment in the cave. After all that happened at Castle Oblivion, the two exchange heartfelt words now that they are finally reunited. Sora and Kairi have a special connection, and this is shown through her bringing him back from the darkness and giving him her lucky charm, which also grants you my favorite Keyblade in the series, Oathkeeper. This key is the symbol of their bond, and that conversation they shared in the cave is one of the most important in the series to this day. I'm sort of skipping ahead here because I found out that Return to Hollow Bastion wasn't quite as eventful as the first time, but their journey to the final world, the showdown with Ansem, and of course the final scene where they seal the door to Kingdom Hearts are so important to me. But I just can't find the words to describe how I felt seeing all those events take place back to back over the course of a couple hours. No game up until that point had the same effect on me that this one did, with the exception maybe being Ocarina of Time on the N64, but even that barely comes close. I think that as I grow older, the memories I have of completing this game again and again and again through the years will resonate with me until my final days, as dramatic and corny as that sounds. I want this game, this series, to go on forever. I want to show it to my children, when I have them, and my grandchildren, to pass on what a quality game really looks like. Too many times these days, games are full of DLC, battle passes, and microtransactions, and the kids of the next generation deserve better than that. Kingdom Hearts 1 is a masterpiece, an experience of a lifetime, and will remain my favorite game franchise forever. Thank you everyone for watching. I've been Key, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.